Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Matt Springer. He's with the University of Kentucky's Extension Wildlife Specialist there. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Joanna.
Now today we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about coyotes. And coyotes have been a fabric, in the woods. And they've been some concern for livestock producers, but just to kind of better understand the coyote, can you talk a little bit about how they travel, maybe how they reproduce?
Sure. So coyotes are basically our largest predator that we have in Kentucky now. They are fairly territorial. That doesn't necessarily always hold true. There's actually three different behaviors that we see out of coyotes, where you have the adults that establish a territory and raise pups. Then you have juveniles from the previous year that are kind of trying to find a territory to take over, where the adults are keeping them at bay out of their territory. And then you actually have a third behavior that this is like a recent finding with GPS collars, that you have coyotes that will actually just meander through the landscape and maybe travel 80, 90 square miles and just kind of do circles. We have a ton of coyotes in the state, and unfortunately, we've tried very hard to get rid of them. No success. So that's not just a Kentucky story, that's nationwide.
And you mentioned something earlier before we got on air about how they have a mechanism to make sure that they keep their population size.
Yeah, so there's some evidence that if you would remove a lot of coyotes the one year, they're what we call density dependent reproductive response. And if there's less competition, those coyotes that are still around will actually have more pups the next year because they nutritionally are in better health and can support them. So you'll actually, if you don't remove enough coyotes, and the number is somewhere in the 70–80% range, you'll actually have more coyotes the next year instead of reducing them. So you may be trying to get rid of them, but it's so hard and to get rid of the numbers you need to actually decrease the population on a scale.
So, we have a hunting season for coyotes in the state of Kentucky, and people might think that they're, really doing good to get rid of the population. But from what you're saying, it's probably not really affecting the numbers.
No, it's not going to have a huge impact. You may be able to, for a short period of time, if you go in and trap and hunt really hard, get rid of those animals that are, have the territory on your property. But I mentioned those animals on the fringe. It's a matter of a week to 2 weeks before those animals pick up that those coyotes are no longer in that territory, and you have new individuals coming in. And the problem that could come from that, and the management strategy that actually has the most success with coyotes and wolves, is if you have animals in an area that aren't causing a problem for you, you don't want to get rid of them because they're actually keeping out the animals that could cause a problem for you.
That's great information, because people look to maybe trapping or getting rid of them, but we have such a huge population that might not be the answer. Now, Matt, something that we've kind of encountered that we haven't encountered before is some of this negative interaction with coyotes in the urban setting.
Yeah, this is a huge problem nationwide. In California, with their population is incredibly large in terms of humans, and they're right there on the fringe of the wild section. And they have coyotes coming off those hills all the time, not to mention mountain lions and a few other things. They've been dealing with this for a long time. But places like Chicago and Atlanta now are seeing a lot of issues, and even in the Northeast. And what we're seeing is coyotes are learning to basically take advantage of the resources that we have. Coyotes can be 30 to 40 pounds. And if you have a dog that's 15, 20 pounds, or a cat that's outside, they may see them as a food item.
Yeah, we've had a lot of cases of that in Warren County. And people are concerned about, their children being out at night. Are coyotes normally aggressive like that?
Normally, you wouldn't have a problem at all. The times we hear about issues, and I'm not going to say coyotes will never attack a kid, because we've seen evidence of it in Chicago where they've tried to go after smaller children. It's usually associated with folks that maybe have been feeding them. So you have a human food association that's really strong. Or if you have a very young child that's outside, that's by itself and unsupervised, and there's no one else around, then they may, if they're hungry enough, may try to take advantage of the situation. So if you have really small toddlers, you definitely do not want to leave them out by themselves.
So in an urban setting, maybe just fence off your property area. Or
if you think you have a problem, putting a fence up in an area will definitely help keep them out of it. If you have an animal that's causing you an issue, that, say you have chickens in your backyard and it's gotten into the chickens, or it's getting into your garbage, you may want to think about trying to get rid of that individual that's causing that problem.
All right. Well, Matt, certainly appreciate the information. If you have questions, make sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.